How's she going, eh? So in this video we have a Troy-Bilt lawnmower with a Honda engine that I purchased off of a website that I was gonna fix up and resell. It doesn't run, so we're gonna do a carb cleaning, and yeah, stick around and you can learn how to clean your carburetor too. Alright, so first things first, we need to get under this airbox cover here. How does this work? Tabs down. Look at that. This thing was barely used. Alright, next thing, two 10mm bolts here, it looks like. Pop that hose off. So that's what I would call a pretty bizarre design. Those two bolts hold the air breather cover on and the carburetor. So now, thankfully, this one's got a fuel shut off because it's a little better quality. And don't lose your gasket. So once you get the carb out of the way, you can go ahead and take this off. So be careful that this gasket you don't lose this gasket, or you have a new one if you're going to use a new one. Alright, now take your springy dingy off without destroying it if you can. There we go. We'll go ahead and pull the fuel line off first. There we go. Okay. Now we can take that off. Alright. Carb's off. Check this out. The gas is literally yellow. It's literally, well, you can't really see it, but it's literally yellow. Take this up. Pay attention to this gasket. Don't lose this little gasket on here. Okay. Watch this gasket as well. Alright, we'll pull the float needle out. I probably should get some needle nose. That would make my life a lot easier. But there we go. Take the float out. Keep track of this guy. That's your little needle for your seat. We should be able to just unscrew this main jet out of here. Not sure if that's very easy to see, but you just put a flathead in there and you can screw that right out. Be careful because there's an emulsifier tube on top of it and it will fall out and you don't want to lose it. So you can just throttle that out of there. There we go, it's starting to come out now. There you go. That's your main jet. Okay. And that's your emulsifier tube. So we're going to go ahead and clean all this stuff as best we can. I'm going to try and just spray down in that hole right there. Try and clean that out. Hopefully we'll get away with it. You're going to clean this hole down in here. This is where the fuel comes in. That's our seat for our needle. So we'll clean that out. You just need to try and find like a piece of wire or something that fits in there and just clean it out. Be careful if you use like on some of the smaller holes, if you need to use something like a tiny drill bit, it's pretty easy to end up breaking it off, like if it's one of the really tiny holes. So just be cognizant of that. You don't want to be like tweaking sideways on it and stuff. The gist of this when you're doing this kind of stuff is just to try and clean up any holes. But anyway, just make sure you clean all these passages. Give them all some love and attention. You want to get all the crud off here. Try and get all these little holes on this emulsifier tube cleaned out if you can. And also, probably fundamentally most importantly, this main jet. I need to make sure that's clean. Again, you can get these crappy bets from Harbor Freight, so you gotta be real careful if you ever try to drill anything with them. But for these sorts of tiny holes like this, they work okay. Or you can get like torch tip cleaners or whatever. This just so happens to be what I have, so that's what I'm using. Spray everything off again. So you want to make sure your needle and seat, or your seat, is clean. Where your fuel comes in, you want to make sure your where'd my main jet go, dog? You want to make sure your main jet's clean. You want to make sure your emulsifier tube's clean. You want to make sure your passages are clean. There, that guy over there. This is where your fuel comes in on these, some of these newer style ones. It actually just feeds in through there. Some of the older style ones have the main jet that actually, this bolt that holds the bowl on is the main jet. It'll have holes in it. So if that's the style of carb, you need to clean all those holes out. Alright. Once you're satisfied that everything is clean, we can go ahead and start putting stuff back together. First thing, emulsifier tube. Let's go ahead and drop her in there. Make sure it kind of gets down to the bottom where it needs to be. Now, put that back in. Go ahead and tighten that back down. Usually just bottoms out fairly well, like that bottomed out in there, so we're good. This needle is going to go, it's going to slide in here. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it slides between these two pieces. We go ahead and set the seat, or the needle in the seat, like voila. Now you can take your pen and we can go ahead and stick that back in there. There you go. Once you're there, it's bowl back on. Alright, and then make sure your gasket is on this bowl. Make sure that gasket's on the bowl, and then make sure your gasket is on your nut. And you can screw that back on. If you got there you go. If you put everything back together and you got gas running out of the bottom of the carb, then that gasket's going to be bad. If you got it running out of like in here, it's probably your float or running into the engine. So just tighten that up. Alright, so this is kind of a pain in the butt, this whole thing. So first of all, you need to put your gasket back on, flat spot along the bottom. And then this part is going to go down. So we're just, so like this. Like this. So this goes with the flapper down. See if we can get that over so it's not pushing itself off. Alright, then the carb is going to go right here. And then, after you do all that, you got to try and get these bolts on. Alright. Make sure your tube that you have to plug into here is below this spring, not over top of it. Once you get this started by hand, we can put the fuel line back on. We can tighten these the rest of the way. 10 millimeters in, if you've managed to forget in the last 2 minutes. I don't think you have to go too berserk on those. So, turn the fuel on and see if we have any leaks. Just turn that fuel shut off. It was off, I turned it on. Alright, and then we can go ahead and put the air box back on. Oh, and there's your fuel dripping out.
No!
Alright, so this is what happens sometimes. I put the car back on, I turned the fuel on, and I had fuel coming out. Hold on one second and I'll show you. I had fuel flooding out of here, running out of here, so that means there's got to be something going on with the float. So we'll pull this back off and see what the deal is. Couple things to look for is, make sure that this thing isn't full of fluid or anything, which it's not. So I'm going to give her a shot again here. I'm not sure why that happened. I don't see anything evidently wrong. I'm just going to, I don't want to break this off, but let's try and bend that little plastic tab there down a little bit more so that it's seating the needle a little better, hopefully. So maybe that's the best plan for you as well. Before you go and throw everything together, just hook the fuel line up really quick, turn the gas on after you get the car back together, obviously. Stick the fuel line on it, turn the gas on, and see, holding it level obviously, if the fuel is going to come shooting out, or if it's going to, not shooting out, I'm sorry, if it's going to start coming out the front. Alright, so it's running a little weird. Almost sounds like it's over revving, to be honest with you. Here, I'll start it up for you one time before I go in, just so you can hear what it sounds like or what the hell's going on. So it seems quite possible to me that this thing, or it sounds like it's getting too much fuel. I'm also not convinced that there's not just a bunch of fuel in this crankcase. So what I'd like to do is change this oil. I don't trust it. Shut your gas off. Yikes. I don't like the looks of that. A lot of metal in there, it looks like. I think they blew this thing up and then sold it. So I think this mower's going bye-bye. Put some oil in it just for fun. Just to see what happens. That's sad, man. So I got it running, but this I guess stands as a warning to people to be careful. Whatever carb is on this particular engine, the needle doesn't seat well. I mean, I had to bend the bowl back just to get the seat to fit to actually to get the needle to seat properly. So if you got one of these mowers and it's like revving crazy and acted berserk, I mean, it's bad, really bad, and this thing burns oil horribly. So that was a wasted 40 bucks possibly. I'm sure the cylinder's all scored to shit. So once I got it running, somewhat, but it runs like junk. So maybe a good idea to change your oil first thing too. If you buy one of these mowers, change the oil out. You'll know right away if it's blown. You'll see all the sparkles in there, and then you could not waste any more time on it. So that would be my advice. Alright, I think I'm going to end this particular video here. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoy mechanical content. The occasional rant about how stupid everything is, and have a good one. See you later.